Welcome, y'all. It's Wes with DIY Food Plot Pro. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been a long time since I posted any videos on YouTube. I've been busy consulting on deer hunting farms all the way from New York all the way down to Louisiana. Finally had a little break. I was able to get out here and make some videos. And I wanted to talk to you about what I've been seeing on the farms and what I see as one of the biggest things that keeps farms from going from good into that phenomenal or great category of deer hunting properties. I've been very blessed to be able to travel around the United States this year and consult on tons and tons of deer hunting properties for folks. And I send them a report at the end with all my recommendations of FSI and TSI, food plots, access, screening, cover, stand and blind locations. Just many different aspects go into that report. And there's one thing that I'm seeing pretty much across 95% of the farms that are holding those farms back from being really, really great deer hunting farms. And today we're going to talk about some of the things that I'm seeing, some of the things that I recommend on these properties to really elevate that farm and to make that farm hunt better, hold more mature deer during the fall and winter deer season. So when I go to these properties, most folks have some sort of food plot program that they've already started, you know, whether that's a clover crop or I'm sorry about this wind today. It's terribly, terribly windy. I tried to get down into a bottom to get out of it, but it's still going to be pretty windy on here. I hope it doesn't bother you all too much listening to the video. But many of the properties that I go to have already got a food plot program set up, whether that's something like clover in the spring and the summertime, or a lot of folks have a fall planting of, you know, the cereal grains. Some folks have a mix that they've been planting, corn, soybeans, milo, a lot of different varieties out there. But a lot of folks have a pretty good food plot program going on. We definitely make a lot of recommendations to increase the attractiveness of that plot through the entire year, whether that is the spring, summer, early fall, winter. During that entire period, I want to have something on those farms that those whitetails are really utilizing hard to be able to target those whitetails during the hunting season, and then as well as add a lot of nutrition to those whitetails during the non-deer hunting season. But I don't think food plots in general are the thing that are holding most farms back from being elevated from the good to great. Now, there's no question there are a lot of properties that the food plots, in my opinion, are not set up to a point to where you can feed whitetails the longest amount of time that is possible for your farm. I've seen everything from mountain farms where you've got a quarter-acre plot, but you've got 4 or 5 of them across the farm. And I've seen everything where you get to ag country, you got, hey, we got as much as we need, tell us what we need here. And I've seen everything in between. In every farm that I've consulted on, I've been able to write up a plan to where we can feed those whitetails longer than what we're currently feeding them right now and give them more nutrition and more pulling power during the hunting season. That's really what this whole thing's all about. We all love food plotting, we all love the habitat work, but at the end of the day, the goal is to pull more whitetails into this plot while you're hunting. That's the goal. If you don't really know how the visits work, we start walking the entire property. We'll look at the food plots. We'll look at all the timber, and we will evaluate that timber upon what is needed and what is the goals of the landowner and the goals of the hunting property as far as increasing the stem count to be able to hold and harvest more whitetails. Most of the farms that I go to, I would say over 80% for sure, maybe even closer to 90%, do not have their woods in a place that they're holding whitetails, right? So we have done a pretty decent job over the entire industry of providing information for food plotters, and for food plotters really picking that information up and run with it. Most of the farms you go to have a pretty decent food plot plan in place. There are definitely things that are missing in a lot of the plans that we're trying to add to them, but overall in general, the food plots are not where I see the biggest gain on the majority of the farms. The majority of the farms are short in cover and woody browse. What that means is when I walk onto these farms, we have large open woods, right, that for 11 months out of the year or 10 and a half months out of the year, providing whitetails very limited use. During that month and a half, 2 months of acorn production, yes, absolutely providing a lot of food in those woods for the whitetails, and it's highly preferred. But the rest of the year, those woods are pretty much null and void of any deer activity except for maybe a doe group, right? The bucks are not going to be in those big open woods during the deer hunting season. They are looking for thick cover, and big open woods is not thick cover. One way you can tell, that I like to tell when I'm out walking these properties, is the amount of rubs that are on the farms. When you find a farm that has a very high stem count, multiple clear cuts, multiple bedding areas, where a lot of FSI, TSI has been done or logging has been done, you will find a tremendous amount of rubs, scrapes all over the farm. As soon as you walk into these open woods, very many times that is null and void. You don't see that sign in there. And that's simply because those bucks are not using that area during the time when they're rubbing and putting down their scrapes, right? So that's a very good indicator of a farm that does not have a lot of fall and wintertime activity when we're not seeing those rubs and the scrapes. And that's very elementary, but it's also at the same time, a lot of folks don't really realize that until we start walking the properties and we see these areas where 4 or 5 trees have fell for whatever reason, and all of a sudden you've got a thicket. And then I can show these folks the sign that's all around this. One of the properties I just got through visiting was a big clear cut, great big clear cut, and it was clear cut strictly for deer. And right on the edge of that transitional cover between the clear cut and the mature timber, I've never in my life seen as much deer sign, deer activity. It was unbelievable. The amount of scat, the amount of rubs, the amount of scrapes, the amount of trails, the amount of beds that were right on the edge of that transitional cover. And if you don't have any thick parts of your farm, you don't generally get to see that. Now I'm setting up my properties. I see this very, very regularly. If I find a thick area on a farm, I'll find almost all the deer sign in that area or right on the outskirts of that thick area where they can jump back into cover quickly. But they like being on that edge. That's where whitetails love to be. They're edge animals, whether it is the edge of mature timber to food plots or ag production, or transition between mature hardwoods and pines, or mature hardwoods and a clear cut. They like being on those edges. They're edge creatures. And the more transitional cover that we can have on a farm, the better the farm does, the higher the farm scores, and the more mature bucks that you'll have on that property. A lot of folks don't realize how big of a role that woody browse plays in a whitetail's diet. That's 365. You're gonna see them eating woody browse all the way from springtime, summertime, all the way through the wintertime as it transitions to their main diet, right? So if you don't have the woody browse on the farm, you can expect that you are not going to hold the whitetails that you would have if you had that woody browse. How do we get that woody browse that we're talking about, Wes? That is where we go in and we cut the timber, we do our TSI, we do our FSI, we open that canopy up and let that sunlight do its thing. I had a lot of folks that reach out, well, I hope this works. I hope it works every time. It's Mother Nature. It's early succession taking over. That clock starts ticking as soon as that mature timber falls and the sunlight can start shining on the ground. It's immediate, right? It'll take 2 to 3 years to reach full maturity, depending on your climate. It will take over and it will turn that into early succession. And basically what that is it's extremely high stem count. The first year it's mainly going to be grasses. The second year it's going to be perennials with a few mixed in saplings. The third, fourth, fifth year it's going to be sapling dominated. And that's when it's really providing a lot of cover and a lot of woody browse. This is a great time to get out into your woods and to look around and see the amount of woody browse that is being consumed on your properties. It's get out into those areas where there is woody browse on your forest floor, and you can see just how hard the whitetails are hitting those areas and really consuming that at a high rate. During the wintertime, woody browse is around 46% of a whitetail's diet. And you think about how much that is, that's a tremendous amount of forage, 6 to 10 pounds of dry material per day per deer. That's a significant amount of woody browse, and most farms do not have enough woody browse to hold the deer that they're wanting to hold as far as those mature bucks. If you need help setting up your deer hunting farms, I've got a website set up, www.diyfoodplotpro.com. You can go there, you can click on contact us or boots on the ground visit. I will send you an email, get in contact with you. I do have very limited availability for March that I can get you in and get you on the list for this year and get your farm done to where when spring planting season rolls around, you are off to the races and ready to go. So if that's something that interests you, you can go to www.diyfoodplotpro.com, click on contact us or boots on the ground visit. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Y'all smash that like and subscribe button.